The Khar'zhul Dominion was feared across 8 arms of the Orion Shard Galaxy, and that fear was well earned. Their ships, razor-lined crescents of black alloy, were whispered about in trading routes like omens of doom. Entire civilizations had scorched their star records clean of any trace of Khar'zhul encounters, believing that hiding their existence was safer than admitting contact. And for centuries the predators fed on that fear. The Khar'zhul did not conquer planets for resources or territory, they hunted. To them, other species were curiosities, prey, puzzles sometimes containing flashes of resistance worth savoring, like a bitter aftertaste in a fine wine. Their rituals revolved around battle trophies, stories of the worthy fallen. The most celebrated warriors were those who conquered entire species in single campaigns. So, when fragments of unfamiliar transmissions drifted into their sensor ranges, simple beacons of digital chatter, unencrypted and unassuming, the Khar'zhul had been amused. Another primitive race, another easy hunt. But as scouts brought back the preliminary scans, the amusement sharpened into interest. The species called human had developed rapidly. Their planet, called Earth, was soaked in electromagnetic noise, suggesting messy but aggressive creativity. Their technology was crude compared to star-faring civilizations, but evolving with a kind of frantic, reckless momentum. Humans had even begun launching probes to the outer fringes of their system. Predators like the Khar'zhul respected growth, especially explosive growth, which is why the Dominion Council authorized the first hunt. First arrival. The Khar'zhul mothership, Varathuan, slipped from folded space near Pluto's orbit like a dark wound in reality. Commander Zelthar, who led the first hunt, looked upon the distant sun with mild disappointment. "How quaint," he muttered. "Their star resembles a nourishing ember, fitting for a fledgling species." His second-in-command, Khr'zhul, leaned closer to the viewing pane. "Prey on the cusp of technological adolescence," she said. "Just ripe enough to understand their doom." Zelthar hissed approval. Scouts spread across the solar system, leaving shimmering distortions in their wake. A smaller vessel dipped into Earth's orbital shadow and cloaked itself. Its task was simple: observe, measure, assess. The humans noticed nothing. Their satellites, crude things of metal and solar panels, blinked blindly past the cloaked vessel. Their ground telescopes flickered over its shape without imprinting awareness. Zelthar enjoyed that, but as days passed, the tone aboard the mothership began to shift. The human species was not behaving like any prey species the Khar'zhul had catalogued. They were loud, broadcasting messages, signals, videos and emotional outbursts across hundreds of channels at all hours. Their transmissions were chaotic, a strange blend of hostility, creativity, humor and contradiction. A species that argued with itself constantly. A species that invented elaborate stories of monsters and aliens despite never having encountered any. It was curious, almost unsettling. First contact. The first true confrontation occurred near Mars. A human vessel, small, triangular, adorned with the insignia of their space program, approached an unmanned Khar'zhul probe. The human ship wasn't armed in any meaningful way. A civilian vessel, not military. But instead of avoiding the probe, it flew straight toward it. Inside, 3 humans debated what to do. The Khar'zhul surveillance sensors recorded the conversation. "We can't just ignore it," the captain said. "This thing isn't on any registry." "Could be debris," the engineer suggested. "It's not debris," the navigator argued. "Debris doesn't hover." They grappled the probe with mechanical arms and hauled it closer for examination. When the probe's claws retracted in response, a defensive reflex, the humans jumped back startled, and then they laughed. Zelthar observed the footage with a twitch of confusion. "Why are they laughing at a threat?" Khr'zhul replayed the scene. "Perhaps fear response." "No," Zelthar hissed. "Fear is sharpened silence, not amusement." To the Khar'zhul, laughter was a sound reserved only for triumph after slaughter, never for discovery or surprise. And as the humans transported the probe back to their orbiting station, poking it, filming it, debating endlessly, even bickering about whose career would benefit more from the find, the predators watched with growing unease. These creatures approached the unknown with a strange, reckless curiosity, one that bordered on hunger, that was new. Third, the dissection attempt. When the humans attempted to drill into the alien probe, the Khar'zhul considered it an act of aggression. Zelthar ordered one of their elite strike units to retrieve the probe and paralyze the human crew. A standard operation. Should have taken moments. Instead, everything went wrong. The strike unit infiltrated the station and immobilized the humans with gas. But as they reached for the probe, one of the unconscious humans began muttering in their sleep. Not prayers, not pleas, just nonsensical rambling about food recipes, overdue bills, and a pet named Pickles. 2 soldiers hesitated. Khar'zhul later described it as the first moment the hunt felt incorrect. Sleep-talking was not unusual among intelligent species, but the randomness of human subconscious rambling, completely dissociated from danger, was almost offensive, as though the human mind simply refused to acknowledge the threat even while unconscious. The strike team returned with the probe, but not with pride. They had felt something they couldn't name. Not fear. The Khar'zhul did not fear, but something adjacent. Fourth, understanding the ape, back aboard the mothership, they began analyzing the human data they'd collected. Biology, history, culture, warfare. What they discovered made even hardened predators exchange uneasy glances. Humans were contradictory, fragile bodies, yet astonishing resilience to injury. Illogical emotions, yet creativity that bent physics with new inventions. Violent histories, yet deep capacity for empathy. But the most shocking revelation came when viewing their warfare records. Zelthar watched archived footage of human conflicts and felt his throat tighten. These are not prey, he whispered. Humans had waged wars not for survival, but for ideology, territory, pride, resources, revenge, honor, and sometimes reasons so complex or absurd no predator could fathom them. More disturbingly, humans innovated under pressure with terrifying speed. Each war forced leaps in technology. Each threat sparked unpredictable, sometimes irrational creativity. In the Khar'zhul's long history, no prey species had ever willingly risked total destruction for the sake of abstract beliefs. Only apex predators behaved like that. Only beings who feared nothing, not even themselves. Khar'zhul reviewed the footage of human soldiers charging into hopeless battles, singing, shouting, laughing. "Commander," she said, voice brittle, their young run toward danger with joy. "Madness," another officer muttered. "No," Zelthar corrected. "Instinct." They had mistaken a predator for prey. Fifth human's notice. The Khar'zhul plan had been simple: subdue Earth's leadership, establish dominion, and begin the ritual hunt. But before the operation could begin, humanity finally detected the mothership. A network of deep space monitoring stations, newly upgraded, triangulated something massive and unaccounted for beyond Neptune. At first, governments argued, some dismissing the readings, others panicking, still others claiming it was a glitch. But then optical telescopes confirmed it. The strange vessel wasn't broadcasting any signal. It didn't match any human technology. It wasn't a natural object. It was alien. Within hours, Earth's factions unified in a way historians would later describe as impossibly fast. Militaries pooled resources, scientists collaborated across borders, civilians were mobilized for global continuity plans, the world governments activated emergency protocols designed for global catastrophes. For the first time in human history, the species acted as one, and the Khar'zhul watched in growing dread. Sixth Human Defense Initiative. Earth launched hundreds of drones, satellites, and prototype defense platforms. They were primitive compared to Khar'zhul tech, slow, clumsy, inefficient. But they were created in days. No species advanced that fast. No prey adapted with such ferocity. More alarming, humans willingly tested these weapons in low orbit, near populated areas, risking catastrophic damage if they failed. The Khar'zhul Council began whispering wordless concerns. What kind of creature threatens itself to prepare for another? Khar'zhul asked. "They are not afraid of death," Zelthar said quietly. "Not theirs, not others." The hunters were beginning to understand that they were dealing with something fundamentally alien to their worldview. Seventh escalation. The first active confrontation occurred when Earth launched an unmanned drone toward the mothership, armed with a nuclear payload. something the Khar'zhul easily neutralized with a magnetic pulse. Yet the humans celebrated the attempt. They learned from it, improved, sent more. The Khar'zhul intercepted millions of human communications, debates, hypotheses, memes, jokes about the impending alien threat, engineering ideas crowdsourced from hobbyists, conspiracy theories predicting the aliens were lizard people or extra-dimensional influencers. The Khar'zhul could not comprehend how a species under existential threat could simultaneously panic, innovate, ridicule itself, and create entertaining videos about how to survive alien abduction using kitchen utensils. "This species," Zelthar murmured, "is broken." Khr'zhul shook her head. "No, not broken. Unpredictable. Wild. That was worse. Predictable prey could be hunted. Unpredictable predators could not." Eighth, the human message. Then Earth broadcast a message toward the mothership. A simple transmission, multilingual, unified. It said, "We do not seek conflict, but we will defend ourselves, and we are very, very difficult to kill." The message included demonstrations of their planet-wide defenses, the resilience of their ecosystems, their medical capabilities, and a montage of humanity's survival against plagues, meteors, ice ages, extinctions, supervolcanoes, and their own self-destructive tendencies. It was not a threat, not exactly. It was a warning, and it made Zelthar's blood run cold. Ninth, the hunters reconsider. The Khar'zhul had never retreated from a first hunt. Never. Their culture considered withdrawal a disgrace. Predators did not turn from prey, but the more they studied humanity, the more the Dominion realized something horrifying. Humans fought like apex predators trapped inside prey bodies. Despite their fragile forms, their minds were weapons. Their unpredictability was lethal. Their creativity was explosive. Their unity under threat was staggering. But the most disturbing truth the Khar'zhul uncovered was this: humanity's greatest battles were not against other species, they were against themselves. A species that could wage war against its own kind for millennia would not hesitate to wage it against an alien invader. Khr'zhul summarized it best: "They have trained for this moment since their origin." Zelthar's claws trembled. "We cannot conquer a species that does not fear death." Another officer whispered, "Commander, are they more dangerous than us?" Zelthar closed his eyes. "Far more." 10th departure. The Dominion Council ordered a full retreat. Not quietly, not shamefully, but with ceremonial precision. The mothership shifted into folded space, slipping away from the solar system like a shadow afraid of its own shape. The last thing the Khar'zhul saw before vanishing was a human satellite drifting serenely past, broadcasting pop music into the void. That detail would haunt them for centuries. 11th, the legend of the humans. Among the Khar'zhul, stories of the first hunt failure became mandatory teaching. Young warriors learned of the species that turned the hunters into the hunted without firing a single shot. In training halls, instructors repeated the same mantra: "Beware the humans," not because they are strong, but because they are relentlessly alive. Some Khar'zhul argued that humans were not predators at all, but something else, something new. A species defined by contradiction, fueled by curiosity, driven by a kind of madness that made them impossible to categorize. One ancient scholar described humanity this way: "They laugh at danger, they argue with destiny, they weaponize hope. They are the only creatures we have met who evolve faster than fear can catch them." Generations of Khar'zhul warriors trained with the lesson carved into their armor: do not hunt the humans, they hunt themselves better than we ever could. 12th epilogue. Earth continues. Back on Earth, humanity never learned how close they had come to annihilation. An alien presence became a mystery, a blip on telescopes, a brief anomaly. Scientists speculated for decades. Some claimed it was an alien ship. Others believed it was an atmospheric glitch. Conspiracy theorists insisted the government knew more. But the greatest truth remained hidden. The most feared predators in the galaxy had fled from the creatures of Earth, and humanity, in its chaotic, relentless march forward, simply kept going. Arguing, dreaming, inventing, destroying, rebuilding, laughing, crying, surviving. Completely unaware that somewhere beyond the stars entire civilizations whispered their name with awe and terror. For in the vast silence of space, the Khar'zhul had spread a new legend, Beware the fearless galactic predators, for they were fearless, until they encountered humans.